Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Jiu Jitsu Motivation Podcast. Today, we have what I like to call the nicest guy in Jiu Jitsu, Matheus Lutes. My name is Greg Melita, owner of Hampton's Jiu Jitsu, black belt, second degree.
And I'm Brian DeLuca, Jiu Jitsu black belt and author of Jiu Jitsu for Small People and Other Weird Shit I Think About.
A great book indeed, Brian. Yeah, so Brian, we have Matheus Lutes, and Matheus is one of my favorite guys in Jiu Jitsu. We've had him out multiple times at the Academy, and multiple shows on Kasai, just a monster competitor. And recently, during the pandemic, opened up his own academy in Long Island, in Western Long Island, and it's called Royal Jiu Jitsu. So really glad to have Matheus on. And Matheus, let's start with that. Royal Jiu Jitsu, you guys opened up right literally smack in the middle of the pandemic. And tell us a little bit about that, the experience opening up.
Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Matheus. I'm the owner of Royal Jiu Jitsu with Alicia, my wife. Man, it was crazy. We came right in the middle of the pandemic. It was July, was so much adversity that we had to overcome, and we're just glad that we have a very group of students and also friends and family supporting us. We're able to survive. It was not easy, but now we're just looking forward for the bright future, and we just don't stop growing and want more and more students to start training jiu-jitsu with us.
Awesome. Yeah, I see you guys on Instagram, and you guys just have an awesome, presence online, and just the whole vibe of the academy is I think something that needs to be more of, see more of that on Long Island and specifically. And then, so you guys are Royal Jiu Jitsu, but you're a black belt under Marcelo Garcia, and are you guys affiliated with Marcelo? That's how that goes. Is that how that works?
Yes, that's right. So you're the Marcelo Garcia Association in Nassau County, New York.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I mean, in my opinion, that's the way most schools do it nowadays, and I think that's the way that we're going to see the most growth in jiu-jitsu. I mean, whether there's New York, United States, however, is everybody wants to have their own name and their own specific, name for their school, academy, whatever you want to call it. But then they can affiliate with either their home school or choose not to, however they want. I really think that that's the way we're seeing everybody go about it, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of growth. Matheus, you what was the training like at Marcelo's specifically, leading up to your black belt? And how did that differ from other academies that you trained at?
So that's what it is, Greg. Like, I was so involved training Marcelo, working at the gym, and like we did so many projects together that I become part of it, and was inevitable that we become an association, a branch. We're gonna be Royal Jiu Jitsu, but we always connected with Marcelo and connected to the academy. We have my friend Matheus, my friend Marcos and Atos, all these guys that I trained together. Marcelo Garcia Academy was amazing. It changed my whole perspective of how Jiu Jitsu has to be. A few points that makes a difference for me about how you train and how you see Jiu Jitsu is, first, a lot of people only think about winning. In Marcelo, I learned how to defend myself. So when you only think about winning and creating shortcuts to become the champion of this or the champion of that, when you look years forward when you're a black belt, that'll become a problem, because every black belt is good attacking. What is going to make a difference? Those who can also defend themselves. You see a lot of like black belts today that when they're fighting, competing, they get into a bad position. They cannot outcome that because they only know how to do it, only know how to fight when they are in advantage, when things go in their own way. Second, the intensity of training. Marcelo, when you think about a 5-minute round, a lot of people think it's a short period of time for sparring. But after the first 5 minutes, I was ready to go home. That was it, one round, and I was over. Because the intensity of how we trained was incredible. It was like short period of time of training, but you leave everything that you have. And that created a style of every single guy from Marcelo that you can see that we're always aggressive, always trying to fight, always pushing the fight forward, because that's how we train. That's how we wanted to do it. You're always pushing the pace, always trying to fight forward. And because that's how we train. And was, of course, training alongside with Marcelo was just so much experience that you get, so many movements that we learn, that it helps me a lot in how to bring all of that knowledge and information back to Long Island, back to Nassau County, and trying to share with everybody here.
Did you always train with Marcelo, or where'd you start your training?
So I kind of like I move it a lot. So I was training in Brazil, in my hometown. I'm from a town called Belo Horizonte. Is the third biggest city in Brazil. It's right by São Paulo and Rio, the most famous cities in Brazil. So I moved to Portugal. So in Portugal, I was training this academy. It's a small academy, and we had like visitors coming from Europeans because Europeans happen in Portugal every year. So the Paulo and João came to train with us for that week prior to the tournament. And we become friends, we talk, they say, look, from here we're moving back to New York. But they just say, one day come to visit us, just show up one day, wanna come by. And like less than 3 weeks later, I was knocking the door, Unity Jiu Jitsu, that's what I started training here in America, was the first gym that I trained. And they were like, they couldn't believe that I just show up. Like, oh my God, what's going on? And that's how it started. I was training Unity. I stayed there for 18 months, and I stopped training for a certain period of time because I got married, I become a father, I got a job. Like was a crazy year that things changed drastically in my life. But as soon as I come back, I make the decision that I want to go back to Jiu-Jitsu. I wanted to get my brown belt. I wanted to move forward with my career. And I think Marcelo was the best option for me at that time by body type and jiu-jitsu movement. Was a professional decision and one of the best that I ever did in my life. Nothing that I don't think I would be doing good in jiu-jitsu and a Unity. I just think that to reach my potential, I'll have to be training Marcelo. And that was a decision that I made. It was one of the best ones I ever did.
I would say there's definitely a debate of who's the nicest guy, you or Marcelo in jiu-jitsu. That should be a debate. Because both of you are such nice guys.
We learned, let's say that you're always gonna reflect the image of your father. You're always gonna reflect the image of your mother. In jiu-jitsu, you're gonna have to reflect the image of a teacher. Marcelo's a nice guy. He's always been so respectful to everybody, and that's what I wanted to have here, my place, the way that I treat my students. That's how I see jiu-jitsu gyms. That's how they should be, very friendly and welcome environment. And I base Royal Jiu-Jitsu in one word: comfortable. Every person who walks in this door has to be comfortable being here.
Yeah, that's a huge point for all academy owners. I mean, because now I always say it, nowadays there's no secrets in jiu-jitsu. There's no more, I have to seek out a Brazilian guy who's got a black belt. Everything's online, there's enough guys now, there's enough academies now where the secret isn't in, let me find this technique that nobody's doing. The secret is how you build the culture at your academy, and I truly believe that, how you make people feel comfortable, how you start people off in the beginning, and how you teach. So what do you think about that? I think that the landscape of the academies have changed now to that point.
I just think it was great. I think jiu-jitsu becomes more professional, and we need this turn. We need to leave not node mentality. We need to leave the structure of jiu-jitsu that you have to stick up to this. You can't look anywhere else. This is what we have. We're not going to share with anybody. This is all moves. This is all ideas. No, today is everybody sharing information. The information is out of there. And it's actually the reverse. It's not who keeps more information. It's who absorbs more information today. The better academies are those who absorb the information and able to transmit that into their students the best and the more effective way.
100%. When you came out to Hampton's Jiu-Jitsu, that was right at the time we had guys like Eddie Cummings training with us and Rich Byrne and bringing all these guys. I mean, you came in so humble, willing to learn. Hey guys, can you show me the leg attacks, the new heel hook systems that everybody's working on? What are you guys working on here? I mean, and you were in the same room with Eddie Cummings and all these guys that were training out. And that's it, to your point. That's exactly the mentality we need to have.
Of course. So if you wanted to grow, you cannot block yourself. When people look into like the small ideas that I cannot try to learn, I cannot show weakness, I cannot show that I don't know this, you're just holding yourself back. And this is the opposite of what I want. I have way bigger goals that I wanted to achieve. So I need to absorb information. I need to learn more so I can outgrow myself. I have to get more and more knowledge so I can transmit that to my students. And that's how I feel that I'm going to create a very good environment and a very good academy.
Right. And I think that goes across the board for anything, right? Anyone who's not open-minded or thinks they know everything about anything is never going to learn. They're not going to be open to learning. And I think with, you can learn from everyone, that you come across in this world, actually.
I completely agree with you, Brian. It's like, in your case, imagine that, all right, I'm going to do my podcast on this way and I'm not going to change. But then you have somebody who has a very successful podcast and he gave a tip to everybody out of there. Hey, guys, do like this. Would you not try it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I got a question for you too, Matheus. With newly changed rules within the IBJJF, now allowing heel hooks for no gi at brown belt and black belt adult level. A lot of schools, especially on Long Island or all over the place, really, a lot of schools just either avoided the heel hook game and the sub-only competitions for a long time, to the point where none of their students know how to do that. How are you approaching it now that IBJJF legalized heel hooks at those levels? Are you teaching your students the introduction to leg locks at a very early time?
So this is what happened. IBJJF changed the rules on January 2021. Since July last year, I already had the academy. Every no-gi class is advanced or fundamentals class. They see leg locks. Why? Because the Jiu-Jitsu evolved. Jiu-Jitsu changed and leg locks are part of the no-gi. It's inevitable, and I feel if you're not showing it, maybe I understand the point that you're trying to be safe for your students. By experience of watching it, academies that hold back had students getting more interest on it, but they don't know how to attack, and most important, they know how to defend. So the injuries will come. When you have everything open and you guide them and instruct them throughout this whole process, they become more comfortable with the idea of leg locks and they get safer. And that's why here, Roy, you have classes that are specifically leg lock class. So you have advanced class,
wow,
specific for leg locks. Why? Because I want my students to be comfortable and able to understand, and most important, being safe of all the movements.
To your point, to be safe, like I still can't understand some people that either don't teach their students at a very early stage the heel hook game specifically because they say it's too dangerous. And if something is so complicated that to avoid any danger, wouldn't it make sense that you have to start somebody out in way sooner in their training rather than wait? To show them. When I came up, we didn't go into toe holds and knee bars and all that stuff until it was actually legal at the brown belt level. And then in competition, we're getting killed because everybody else that did these leg locks and types of attacks way at white and blue belt are now great at them. So I think, a lot of academies could take the opposite approach. Because you think something is so, more dangerous, I think that's more of a reason why we should be showing it and introducing it way at an earlier stage.
I completely agree, and I think that you have to start learning as a white, like understanding the idea, seeing it, maybe not practicing every day, but looking at it by watching and seeing you already learning. Blue and purple belt got to be training and like introduction to your jiu-jitsu. And I completely agree with the federation that having the attacks law in tournaments only a brown and black belts. Why? Because that is the point that you become more mature to understand your own limits. A blue and purple belt, you're not going 100% in the academy. You have the limits. You don't mind of tapping. You don't mind of restarting. In a tournament, you always want to exceed your limits. And your opponent is also going with all the strength in the movement. Because we'll see, when you train a heel hook, the person got in is like a mutual respect that you understand that you got me. In a tournament, I'm going 100% to try to make you tap. And if you don't have the maturity to understand your own limits, that's when the injuries come. So in a competition, brown and black belts, I completely agree with the federation rules. But in the academy, I think that it should be introduced in an early stage of jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. Do you think also it's interesting that they only brought it in at adult brown black? Because to my understanding, it's not for like masters, right? It's only adult that it's available. It's considered legitimate.
The reason that I can come up with the only explanation for this case will be recovery time. So put it like this: an adult can recover injury way faster than a master. It's It's just by the age. You guys understand when you. I feel it like I wake up the next day from training, nothing happened. At 26 today, I feel tired. I was talking to my wife today. Oh, my arm is hurting because you start getting like.
Wait till you get to my age, Matheus. Wait till you get to my age.
That's a good point, though. That's a good point. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
It's the only explanation that I can come up with from this segment. Is the only way that I think the federation think about it. And people like to bring it up stuff about the IBJJF. But when you think about it, they're in the business for so long. So they have people who have seen everything. And it was inevitable that they will have leg locks included. But they always have to also be thinking about the safety of the athletes. That's why you don't have white belts jumping close guard because they saw injuries with that. You understand? And I agree that brown and black belts should be doing leg attacks. And the master's opinion, I think a lot of masters today will be able to do heel hooks and recover easily. But in a whole concept, you have a master that is being a black belt for 12 years, and you have somebody who only got a black belt. So it's a very different level over there. And that's what may have them a little worried about it, about like time of recovery, maybe the difference of skills. That's the only explanation that I can come up with.
Yeah, that's another great point. I mean, and I agree with those points too. That's a good point about the masters. You know, I was like, oh man, how could they have it just for adults and not the masters? There's plenty of black belt masters that are awesome at heel hooks and been training it for years. But you're right. That's a good point about recovery time. You know, older, you're not going to recover as fast, and a little bit more of a risk there for injury. And one thing I always get kind of pissed off too is that when people start to attack the heel hook game and the leg game as to be so dangerous, it kind of doesn't look good on those people that say that, because that means you're not teaching it properly. Like when I see people that don't understand leg locks and they get caught in a heel hook or something and they just try to like rip out, and then they're the same ones that claim that it's too dangerous. Well, what happens if I'm in a straight arm lock, a basic arm bar, and I decided to just try to rip my arm out? It would be the same thing. And there's no difference in the arm as far as there's a wrist, there's an elbow. And if I'm going to do the hitchhiker escape and twist, that's how you're doing the heel hook escapes with the heel slips. You wouldn't just try to rip your arm out of an arm bar when it's fully locked. Why would you try to just rip your leg out of a heel hook when it's fully locked? So I think when people say it's too dangerous and too complicated to teach younger students or, white and blue belts, I think they're totally off on that. It just shows their lack of knowledge of heel hooks.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And one more time, even like if you come to a school who doesn't specialize in jiu-jitsu, who doesn't show, or not specialize in heel hooks, doesn't show that many movements in heel hooks as you're learning from your teacher, is so much information out of there with so many good videos that you can try to learn. And it's sometimes not even pay videos. You can find free samples, you can find free videos online that you could learn from it and you could look into it. And I'm pretty sure if you're black belt, you have a different eye from the details that is not even being spoke about it. You're going to be able to bring the basics concepts back to your class, back to your students.
Exactly. That's. I mean, this is exactly the stuff that I want to be talking about too, because we got to forward and bring jiu-jitsu to a point where everybody's sharing good information, so everybody can learn and improve.
So here's a question that you just made me think of, Matheus, when you mentioned that. So should, going out, you're talking about going out and learning and bringing it back to your school. Should the owners, right, of the academies be getting together also and learning from each other, not just, teaching, like them getting together, training, learning techniques that they may not specialize in from each other?
I completely agree with you. So I'm not that well, what I can say, aware of how heel hook word works, how the leg attacks works in a matter that I can teach my students every single detail of it. I have a basics, the concepts of defending and a basic concepts of attacking. But when it becomes the point that I was holding my students back, that I was like, okay, I don't have the next class ready to teach them, and I don't know if they're going to be able to connect in a point they're going to be effective attacks. It's time to make a decision. Should I start getting myself more trained, pay somebody to train me so I'm going to be able to teach these classes, or should I hire someone who has the knowledge to teach those classes on my behalf? And that's what happened. I find somebody very well trained in heel hooks. He knows a lot of this stuff. He knows very simple details and concepts that they can engage the class. And this is what happened here, Royal. I found somebody who's going to take over this segment that I'm not specialized on it. And the same thing happened in wrestling. I'm not a wrestler. I don't have a college wrestler level. And I found someone who have international level wrestler, who went to the worlds of wrestling. So that person is also teaching my wrestling classes. So whatever that I don't feel that I can bring excellence in service to my students, and find somebody else to come and help me out with that. And that's how I think every academy should be. The person should stop thinking that they can be able to do everything, and have more specialized people come and support the gym.
Oh man. Brian, you know that just hit it on the head. I want to jump up and cheer right now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because you're also talking about not even just bringing, so, you know, the heel hooks, you could say that's, you know, associated with jiu-jitsu, but now you're talking about bringing wrestling in, right? Which, you know, it's a grappling art, but it's a completely different grappling art. But there are so many, you know, pros and cons to, you know, to both of it. But bringing that in, you know, that we know wrestling, you know, there's a lot more takedowns with it and things like that. So it's interesting, because now you're starting to blend, right? You know, the grappling arts.
It is. It's an evolution. What is happening today? You see, especially nogis becoming more, what I can say, pleasant for the spectators. They love it to watch, because you have more takedowns, you have more submissions, and these two concepts, you cannot leave it out. You cannot miss them, and you have to bring them together. And I saw that happening. I saw this fusion, what is happening with jiu-jitsu today. And I felt in an urge to bring that to my gym. I can show a very simple takedown. I can show movements that I like to do. But in a way, they work for me because of my body type, because of my height, because of my weight, my strength. If I have to show the same movement to everybody and expect them to learn, it's harder. So when I have somebody who can show 20 different movements in a month, and each person is going to be able to do one, I feel that the academy is growing. The academy is moving forward. You guys understand?
Yeah,
100%. I mean, what it comes down to, I think what you're talking about is what we learn and what we're told by our professors every day is to leave our ego at the door. Can you be humble enough? Can you be humble enough as an academy owner and a professor to say, you know what? I don't know the ins and outs of the heel hook game. I don't know the ins and outs of wrestling takedowns. Should I just claim that I do and just try to do it half-assed, or should I just stick to, you know, the old school fundamentals because I don't know this stuff? Or should I be humble enough to either A, go out and learn this stuff legitimately with a blank canvas, or B, like you said, bring in people that specialize, you know?
And that's one of the things that I was trying to mention at the beginning of this podcast about people holding themselves back. I don't want to hold myself back. I have plans. I have goals for the gym. And those decisions, I'm 100% sure that it's only going to bring benefits on me, and way more benefits than me keeping to myself. Like, I cannot have somebody else come and support me and help me on these classes. I'm going to just stay with the very basics, the very simple ideas of it. And my students going to have to just take it. I'm going to bring some help me support that. And that's not how it works. People want a good quality of service, and that's what I wanted to offer here. And that's why I have so many specialized people training and working with me right now.
Yeah, I recommend people out there, when you're a member of an academy and you're paying tuition, you're voting with your dollars, you know, like, and there's so many different schools now. There's no secrets in jiu-jitsu. What's going to increase your jiu-jitsu is the best practices rise to the top, and the academies that have the best results, those are the ones are going to, you know, get a lot of the student bases, because people want to seek out what the evolution and how and where jiu-jitsu is going. You know, everybody's got to learn the basics, but then everybody wants to make sure that they're doing the things that everybody else doing and getting knowledge in nowadays.
And I think what Matheus is pointing at too is also investing in the knowledge, right? So even though, you know, all of us, we're all limited in our knowledge. We know what we know, and bringing in experts and investing in knowledge for yourself and your students, you know, becomes just, you know, astounding.
Yeah. Exactly what it is. You gotta, like, I respect knowledge as much as I learn. So let's put it like this: as more that I learn, more respect what somebody else knows. Like, knowledge is something that is really hard to price, and I really respect it, and I really give a value to knowledge. When you have somebody, in this case, this wrestler that is work with me, this guy went to the worlds of wrestling. He's like 3 times our American. Actually, it's funny because today he has his ceremony. He was one of the best, if not the best, wrestling in Hofstra College history. He's like a big deal. The guy is very, very famous in the area. He's very good in what he does, and it was just a blessing to find him and bring him in the gym. If me, as a black belt, as academy owner, tell that I would be able to teach the same level of class that this person teaches, I'm being way, way irresponsible. I'm not thinking about my students and only about myself. So when you value somebody with this type of knowledge, you're really doing the right move, really taking care of yourself, your academy, and your students.
Yeah, 100%. This is all the topics that I wanted to cover. And I mean, when I opened Hampton's Jiu-Jitsu, and we had, I mean, you were invited out by Rich Byrne, and Rich is the guy responsible for bringing in, Eddie Cummings. He would spend every summer at our place just, doing all the leg stuff to us. He first walked in our doors. It was him and Anthony Bourdain and Rich Byrne. And what Eddie had showed and did when he rolled with all of us old school guys, and just, gi or no gi, it didn't matter. We just got torn up. That opened up our eyes. And that's the vision I had for the academy, is just to bring in names of people that specialize in all these different things. I don't claim that I know everything. And that's the point. It's the culture that you breed in the gym.
Of course. And the way that your academy was like open and welcoming to every single person who wants to come and bring and add knowledge to your students, you're just more than welcome to have them. And that just like it only brings benefits. You guys are getting benefit from everybody. So you're learning from somebody who is very good. I think one of the best like no-gi grapplers I ever trained with my life. His person's expending the whole summer there. How much knowledge is that dropping into your mats?
Yeah.
That is unique. You can't price that. It's impossible.
100%. And speaking to that, we had a special gentleman out at our place that was specialized in the north-south choke that basically, I mean, just, ripped up the competition scene.
Heard about this guy.
Yeah. Whether it was in Kasai, whether it was in, the worlds, anywhere. And what did I do? I seeked out the expert in the north-south choke, just like his Professor Marcelo ripped everybody with this north-south choke. When you feel Matheus Lutes lock on his north-south choke, I just had to bring him out and have a seminar. And that was actually featured in the Kasai YouTube series in episode 2, which we're going to play right now for you.
Okay.
I think Matheus was lifting extra amounts of weights for this. It just looks like a Greek.
Was he like bulked up even more than he normally is every day? I think he came out being that built. I think he's just
Well, when we brought him to the barbecue place, and he had an amazing amount of high level of protein. Yeah, you can't expect this guy to be anything but jacked.
That was a nice day, man. I was surprised with the turnout. Was a lot of people.
Yeah, it was really good. We had the Kasai film crew there. See, look at this guy jacked out. Look at this. It's my little head.
You look so tiny next to him, man.
Oh my God. Yeah, you can just imagine the north-south, but the details, I mean, just the details that Matheus showed in this choke. I mean, I've got white and blue belts that attended this seminar, and they still remember those same details.
I really like to, it makes a huge difference, especially in the north-south. People think is how hard you can squeeze. Is the opposite. It's how hard you can't squeeze. Is your weight doing the job? It's not your arms. Look at those hips low. That was a good one.
You developed that on the mats, I mean, specifically? Yeah. You got like overtime training? Like this is something.
I'm always the annoying guy who asks questions after class. I was consistently asking questions after class.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, look, he's pulling it off in Kasai right here. Look at this.
That was a good one. Every student who walks in and talks to me, they say that was a beautiful submission. Man, I will never forget that night. Everybody at that tournament was going crazy. The crowd that night was special.
Yeah, I mean, I think the north-south choke, I mean, I've seen Marcelo hit this specific choke, whether it's gi or no gi, but, more prevalent no gi is a little more room. There's no collars in the way. But that choke is still, gi or no gi, equally effective. I've seen it,
Yes, that's a true goal movement, especially north south. Especially in side control, going to the north south. I always tell people today everybody just want to use side control as a pass point going into the mount or into the
Mhm.
back. I love the side control. I love north south. It's just a good place to be.
Yeah, see, this was an awesome part of the seminar. Not a lot of seminars feature the actual athlete demonstrating the techniques, where he actually just goes in and rolls with the whole class afterwards. I mean, utilizing the techniques that he's showing. And this was one of those special opportunities when we have somebody in that does a seminar that, takes the class and fully rolls with the class. We've had Keenan Cornelius do the same thing. And I think that's a special part to have is actually rolling with the guy, actually doing the seminar. So, well, I just want to thank you for that, Matheus. You left a great impression on the students, and they love that north-south choke to this day.
I want to come back. We gotta set up the day that we'll come back.
Yeah.
It looks like he's choking him in all different directions, actually, honestly, just on north south.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's to the point. I mean, Matheus is New York City, Long Island, we're all in the same. I mean, back in the day, I could never imagine something like this going down because it would just look at as, oh, he's the competing school and in New York. And, that would never happen. I think the culture nowadays is totally different and academies have to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Man, like open this academy, he has been on the plans for the past 5 years. That was the goal. Every day I was commuting to the city. I was planning and imagining how it would be. And it came 100%, 110% exactly as how I wanted. Nothing out of the plan. Nothing was left out of the plan. Everything is here.
But see, you envisioned that and you manifested that. I mean, just like you training on the mats all these years, just picturing yourself in an academy. What would you do? What would you do? This way, that way. How would I not do this? I feel like in all the years coming up, I have a PhD in what to do and what not to do because of what you've seen. You know what I mean? And what you experience.
Sure.
I think that's a huge part of it.
Of course.
And you a couple more questions, and specifically in the way that you guys trained at Marcelo's, you talk about these amazingly hard competition rounds. You guys do a lot of specific bad position training, right?
Yeah. So Marcelo, he loves it, like the back control. He always mentioned that if you reach the back, if you get the back control, the fight ends there. You can't leave it. You gotta stay there. It's in the back, or it's a choke, or you're gonna stay there until the fight ends. Sometimes we lost the back and he gets so upset with us. And every time that happens, he'll bring us back to the gym and we do a specific training for the whole week of the back control, the seat belt, how to stay tight on the seat belt. That was his whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big piece that I think is missing in a lot of academies. I mean, myself, I came up and it was just, it felt like a competition every class. You're just trying to kill each other to the point where coming up through the ranks, sometimes all it is just rounds. There was no specific like, okay, bad position, just work out, just work getting out of the mount, just work getting out of side control. And, I didn't get my guard passed, so I was never mounted for like 3 to 4 years. And then somebody comes in that's better and passes my guard and I feel like a white belt. So I think, people have to force themselves to fight from bad positions, even during their normal rolling rounds. And then, that's like you said, specifically at Marcelo's for not only competition training, but the regular classes, they focus a lot in even sparring and rolling from bad positions, right?
No, that's one of the points that I mentioned in early in the podcast. That's what makes the difference for me training Marcelo, that I became aware of how to defend myself when I'm doing jiu-jitsu. And you have to learn how to defend yourself. And some academies, they don't focus that. They prefer to focus only on the attack. Is the option, is the way that they like to see things. But I make my students learn and train how to defend themselves, just like the way that we did at Marcelo, learning specific training from bad positions. So when you get in that position in a regular sparring role, you're going to be able to defend yourself, or at least know what to do.
So defend yourself, because I was taking that as like self-defense, but you meant defending from bad positions, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you're talking about live rolling from bad positions, like you're starting with someone on your back and someone's trying to maintain control, correct?
Yes. everybody today who is successful in jiu-jitsu competition, and they know they are doing that. Every academy today that has the competitors that is sticking out, they do specific training every, like, let's not say every day, but every week they have specific training. Let's say it's a group of 3 that we start in a certain position, or it's a king of the hill that the person in the center, king of the mat, whatever you prefer to call, that the person in the center has to escape that position. And we consistently do this over here and we did a Marcelo all the time.
Yeah.
It was always the position of the day, specific training, regular training. Always. And that helps us to become aware of what to do when you are in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up in wrestling. That's a lot of what you did. You did this sort of king of the mat. Like, you started 2 people in the circle, whatever, whether it was takedowns or whether it was escapes or whatever, and you started from those positions, and whoever won stayed, and the person moved to the next spot, and you kept moving through the cycle, until you were either out or you were that's it, you won.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools, maybe 90%, you warm up. You show the technique of the day, but it's only what the professor is showing, so you really can't work other stuff. And then you just throw rounds on and fight. But I think it's to Matheus's point, like, you got to force yourself to fight from these bad positions. That's the only way you're going to be able to get out and make an actual offense. But you got to actually be live rolling with specifically, bad positions, and then, addressing how are you escaping properly. I think that's huge. But then it comes back to ego. It comes back to the ego conversation, because do you have, too much of an ego to say, okay, I'm going to start from somebody's actually past my guard, and hey, I may have to tap, but that doesn't matter. I'm working the bad position.
I agree. 100%.
So what, in your opinion, right, what percent should be like, traditional rolling versus bad position training? So should be like a 50-50 split, 80-20. What do you think? What's ideal?
I think it goes by the week of what you guys are learning on that week. So you cannot do a specific training on the week that you're learning how to do choke from the mount. So the person on the top is only going to get the choke every single time. It goes by the week, and it's also go by the instructor, the person who is responsible to develop the class, to see what the academy is missing as one. So if I see that everybody's doing one movement, not wrong, they're missing a part of the movement, next week is what I'm going to try to bring in and show them. And if it's a movement that you'll be able to defend a back, or you're able to finish a sweep, maybe that will become like more of a specific training. Yeah, I think it's flexible in that case of if it's going to be a competition month, or if it's just like a movement that everybody is messing up together, or if it's a specific idea of how to move. It goes by the week and by the content.
Yeah, to that point, I think every school is going to be different and unique in their members and, scheduling and, what people specifically need, just like you said. I mean, I've seen some academies where people are so off in their schedules that they have options to come in, and it's just literally an hour block of time of just 8-minute rounds on the clock, and it's just rolling. You come in, do your own warm up if you want before the session starts, and it's just straight rolling. And then they have options where it's just a straight hour where time is on the clock, and that's just for drilling. That's like some options that people do too. Or you can do the class, you have a specific technique of the week or a general concept of the week, and then you do some situations, and then you regular rolls after that. This way, it doesn't matter who comes in on what day, it's going to be a similar structure. I've seen it all over the map.
Yes, and is, as I say, every academy approach in a different way, but in the end of the day, you should definitely be having some type of specific training, because it gives you the chance to train exactly what we learned on that day. So let's say you're learning position B, but when you're sparring, you have 0 chances to get into position B. So how are we going to train what we just learned?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, we can only learn from the only way that you're going to actually see this is if you get outside your own academy, see how other academies are doing it. I think maybe some students would be nervous. Matheus, what do you think about, there's a lot of academies that refrain from your students training at other schools. There's a lot of academies that are all about it. The way I like to approach it is you have your home academy, you pay your tuition there. That's where you're going to get your belts and things like that. But I don't own these students. These guys are paying for a service. Men and women are paying for a service, and they're allowed to train wherever they want. They don't need my permission. But just as long as they're loyal to their home academy, they're paying tuition there. That's where they get their belts. They're welcome to visit any academy they want, and they don't have to ask me to do it.
I completely agree with you. So the way they approach here, Royal, is that the students are more than welcome to visit other places. They can come. They have the free will. And most of, let's say 99% of my students are adults, or they pay for their own membership. They take care of their own lives. I cannot tell them what to do and what not to do. What I ask them is to be open and clear with me if they're expecting me to be the one who is evaluating them daily to be promoted, and if they're going to be paying membership here. And the same way that people who come to visit here, I say, you're more than welcome to come and visit. You can come. I have nothing against it. You can come and train whatever you want. You want to come and train with me. You want to be here for the month. You can do the month. Just please be sure that I'm not evaluating you in a daily base to be promoted for your next level in Jiu-Jitsu. That's next level, next stripe. All right? You just come in here. I'm going to teach you the classes the same way that I teach everybody else, but you're not just being evaluated to get promoted. And for my students is please be clear with me that I'm going to be the one who promotes you. All right? You're going training somewhere else. It's perfectly fine. I don't mind at all. We're just going to have to be clear who you're expecting to be your teacher. Who is the person who is responsible for evaluating you in the daily base to promote you to the next level? Because that's how promotion Jiu-Jitsu works.
That's huge. That's a great point to bring up, because that might be what's stopping people from maybe cross training. Not only do they think they need permission from their instructor, that shouldn't be, but you should be clear with wherever you're training. Listen, I train at such and such school, but I love your place. I'd love to visit here, maybe once a week. And at least they're clear with you that they're not looking for you to, get the ranks. They get their ranks somewhere else. But as long as you're loyal at your home academy and you make that clear, everybody should be, training with different gyms, different people. That's only going to grow the sport.
I agree. And I learned that from Marcelo. Marcelo never had any type of rules of if you train, you go visit somewhere else. He really didn't mind, because he guaranteed his products as well. He knows his academy instructor have good classes. And if it's not working for you, is because maybe you'll have a different views from Jiu-Jitsu, because his place was running well. And the same way that I see my academy, if people is willing to train in somewhere else, I wish them the best and hope that one day they come back. But the gym is open and they can come and train. You have no rules as whatever you want to train. You have no rules of what uniform you can use, and that makes people feel more welcome and feel more comfortable.
Yeah, that's to your point, Marcelo. How many videos have we seen of Marcelo on YouTube of him training with UFC champions, wrestling champions, guys from different jiu-jitsu academies all over? There's videos of him live rolling with all these people. That would never have happened unless Marcelo had that open mind and just train with everybody.
Agree. And come on, it's New York City. Everybody comes to visit New York City and wants to. Imagine if he only has his academy closed for only members, or you can visit. That would be it's not a good approach for it.
Well, I think that's a good point too, because I know when I travel, anywhere I'm going, I go, okay, if I have time while I'm traveling, is there a school? And I start doing my research. Where should I train while I'm traveling? Like if I'm in Texas or I'm in California or I'm in, pick a place. Is there places I could go and train while I'm there? So you want all these schools to have open doors.
Yeah, 100%. Let's switch this over to a couple different topics. So, Matheus, what do we see a lot of different rule sets, different events now in jiu-jitsu competition. For a while it was really only IBJJF was the professional events. To you want to be able to get a gi world championship was the ultimate goal. Now the sub only movement, you have in all these organizations. You had Kasai, EBI, WNO, sub only rules. Now you're seeing different mixing. What do you think the future of the sport is? But what do you think as far as the rule sets go? What can we expect from here?
I just think it's gonna grow, and I think more things about to come, more tournaments, and more tournaments gonna pop up, like great organizations. Some organizations gonna go down again. They're gonna stop to exist. And you had an example of ACB. That was like this great organization for Russian, bringing the best fights ever, was like amazing cards, and it becomes to an end. You have new organizations coming, new people making events, and what I see is IBJJF is still gonna be the standard for jiu-jitsu in the gi. Now you have ADCC gaining a lot of prestige and power again for the jiu-jitsu no gi, and those shoes will remain the standard forever. All the organizations is more like a show event, and you have some of them that is just amazing and create this, what I can say, this prestige, this different vibe, this different energy out of it. As you mentioned, Kasai, WNO is like, it's just great. These tournaments just bring a different scenario for jiu-jitsu, and those are the ones that I feel that is going to stick around. Some of the tournaments will come up and they will go, but the only thing that will be always winning is the jiu-jitsu itself. The jiu-jitsu is just going to be growing and growing and growing. I remember in 2015 was the first year that Flow Grappling came around. It was World's No Gi 2015. Was only IBJJF. Didn't anything else existed. Was IBJJF. And then the sports, now you have so many different organizations. It's great. Things change, and things changing quick, and things is changing for better.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to come. That it's very uncertain. But I think it's only going to be good things. The sport is only going to explode. I mean, Brian and I were looking at some of the stats. I mean, I think there's currently, I don't know what we were looking at, but like 40,000 black belts certified by IBJJF or not, but the amount of brown belts that are out there that are going to be getting to black belt within the next couple of years, it's going to triple the number of
there's some and who knows how accurate these things are, but some of the stats we were seeing, it was like 40,000 currently, right? And they were predicting within, I think, like 2 to 3 years it was going to be about 120,000 black belts, which is crazy.
And triple that number by now, because how many you guys know that are not certified or never got the degree from IBJJF because they never felt the urge to compete?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then, we're also, as academy owners, we're battling, pandemic, post-pandemic. It was insane going through 2020. Now we don't know what the future holds, with current restrictions and lockdowns and things like that. So, not only is the sport growing, it's going to grow whether there's a pandemic or not. We know that. But now it's just a matter of the whole dynamic of these academies. I think we may see a lot of different things go on as far as different, types of academies or different styles of structuring the classes. And, there's still a lot to come with just academy ownership, I think, way more than just rule sets and tournaments.
I agree. Yes, things are changing, and things are changing for better. Is you get whatever you've been seeing for, as you say, you have a PhD of learning what to do and what not to do. It's the same thing here. I see so many things that I like it, things that I dislike it, and you're just making academy better. In 5 years to 10 years, somebody's going to open another Royal Jiu-Jitsu, and that person will take everything they like it from me, everything they didn't like, and they're going to make their own way. And I think we're just going to get better and better and better. If you think about it, you have an academy that was settled in California that the academy sets the new standards of how a Jiu-Jitsu academy should look. it took off all the ideas of the dungeon training place with dark room, dirty locker rooms, dirty walls, and they create everything white, everything is beautiful and clean, and then bring this new concept to jiu-jitsu. And you see so many academies popping up today with a very beautiful design, very well organized. You have very good locker rooms and very clean facilities, and that makes a huge difference today. If you look at jiu-jitsu today and 10 years ago, it's completely different.
Yeah.
It looks like it's 50 years apart, not only 10 years apart.
Yeah. I mean, most of us, when we started jiu-jitsu, you started in not even just a dungeon. Sometimes it was rented space from something else. You know what I mean? It was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually we saw that because with this pandemic, a lot of people were forced to, train either in some crappy basements or put together whatever mats they could to train. And I think it brings 2 points. Number one is that you can train jiu-jitsu anywhere. You can train jiu-jitsu on some piece of canvas under a bunch of pillows, in the middle of the desert. Yeah, we know that. But we also see that there is a difference to a really high-end, cleanly run academy that's actually going to, grow the sport. Of course, we can train jiu-jitsu anywhere. People do it in their garages, but can you host, many different people? And to have an actual academy that's going to be successful, you need that cleanliness, that welcoming atmosphere in order to be successful. There's just no way around it.
100%.
Awesome. Well, I mean, Matheus, let's say, so you got Royal Jiu-Jitsu and you have your own personal Instagram, right? Where can everybody find both of those?
So you can type in Matheus Lutes, my name, with TH. All right, going to be my Instagram, Matheus Lutes. And you also can find Royal Jiu-Jitsu Academy. They are connected. If you find one, you're going to be able to find the other. Okay. You can also find a website, royaljiujitsuacademy.com. All the information is there, including schedule and location. And of course, a contact button so you can contact us by phone call, email. We're going to be more than happy to help you guys. All right.
When are we going to see you back on the mats?
Oh, that's a good question.
Scene.
My students consistently ask me about that question. So now, luckily, we have an expansion of the academy. I'm going to become a father again. So probably in the next couple of months, I'm going to be off of the jiu-jitsu competition. And I'm focusing more on my academy now, focus on my students. And I'm leaving the competition scene through all them. They're doing very well. They're winning tournaments. And I'm having that competition feeling, the competition satisfaction through my students at this point. But we'll come back.
That's amazing. Your competition, so far, what we've seen of you in competition has been amazing. And but yeah, I think to that point, in closing, these academy owners, shout out to everybody, that are one-man shows. And, it takes a lot to run an academy, focus on your students. And, if you're lucky enough to have, multiple people running the show and it enables you as the owner to also still compete. I mean, that's amazing. But I think people don't realize what it really takes into running a successful academy, because anybody can open one, but is it going to be successful is the question.
Of course, and that's my goal. I'm directly in contact with every single class of the academy. I'm currently teaching like 95% of my classes, so that takes a lot of time and preparation and energy. So I'm focused on that right now. That's the main goal of my career, to become a better teacher, to have my academy become a better academy. So for now, the competition is on hold. Of course, it will come back, but I feel that the gym and the students need more attention of Matheus Lutes now.
Awesome, Matheus.
Couldn't have said it any better. Matheus, thank you for coming on.
Yes,
and we'll hope to have you back on. And let's do this again, and let's have you out. I want to come out, see your place, come out, see mine. Hopefully the pandemic didn't affect us all too bad, and we can get all going again. But really appreciate it.
Maybe we'll have to do it. Maybe we'll have to do an episode from Matheus's new place one day.
Oh, yeah. We'll go to Royal and we can do a live second podcast right from there.
I have a very good memory, so you guys don't make promise that you're not going to keep, all right?
Oh, we'll cut.
Okay. Exactly.
Guys, I appreciated the invitation. I had a nice time. It was nice talking to you guys. And I'd say let's see how things play out, and hopefully we see each other soon. All right?
Thank you, Matheus.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.